Hey guys, John here. So we are back. We're back live. Well, not really. It's live for me and not for you. Anyway, got some coffee. Hopefully you have a juice box or coffee or beer, whatever it is you fancy, right? Whatever it is you fancy. I should start incorporating that into my vocabulary. It's kind of a weird word. What do you fancy, man? What do you fancy? Fancy pants. Okay, so our topic here is the most important thing I've learned about mixing. Less is more. That's true. I mean, it takes a while, I think, to get to that point. But yes, absolutely. Let's see what Saluzikon has to say. The most important thing I've learned about mixing, less is more. I've been mixing for a while now. Started back in 2009, just messing around, not really knowing what I was doing. In 2018, I finally learned what mixing actually was. Oh, well, good. That's great. By 2019 and 2020, I was charging people and making some money off it. Hell yeah, man, that's cool. It's actually it's more difficult than you would think. So kudos, good job. Hell yeah, make some money off that. Um, but only recently did it really hit me. I've been following a less is more approach without even realizing it. I don't remember exactly when that shift happened. I can't pinpoint a single moment, but comparing my old workflow to now, it's clear that something changed in how I approach a mix. I've been refining this without even knowing. Here's what stands out the most. Okay, the first one, session prep is everything. I clean up the audio first, cut what's not needed, fade things right, and fix levels. That alone clears the path for a better mix before any plugin is touched. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, you kind of really should do that. Because if you have all these things everywhere, it's going to be hard to keep track of everything, and just keeping your session clean and naming things appropriately. I'm looking at you who's not naming things appropriately, or naming things like GFXRZZF1 version 2. Like, don't just stop today. Turn your life around. There's still hope. Turn around. Label things and make your session clean. It's going to help you. Number two, fewer tools, more intent. I used to stack plugins just because. Now I'm using less EQ and compression mostly, and even though I'm still learning the technical side, I trust my ears more. That instinct has taken me further than any preset ever did. Now that's true. That's true at the end of the day. Now, as far as using less EQ, I mean, I don't know exactly what's meant by that. I mean, EQ, you use what you need, right? I mean, if something's really bad in the low end, you might want to take some of that out. You don't want to think like, oh, I should take just a little bit out and leave it. Like, if it's bad, take it out. If it's good, enhance it. I mean, it's I guess a very simplistic approach, but it generally works. Using less EQ and compression mostly, which, I mean, whatever the signal is, it calls for what it calls for. But I do agree in the sense that you don't need to stack like 100 plugins on one thing to make it sound better. I mean, maybe you do in a weird niche case, maybe, but I don't do that. I trust my ears more, as you should. Um, it's the ear, not the gear, right? But there's some caveats to that. I always love that quote. It's like, there's that meme where it's like, it's the ear, not the gear, and the guy's like surrounded by like super nice analog expensive gear and like a Neve or something stupid. Um, Limiters equals underrated. People talk about them for loudness, but to me, they're glue. They're both. They help me control peaks, lock in feel, and give the track a final polish. Which, yeah, I mean, that's depending on what the music is and what it calls for. You kind of use what you do. But in that sense, as far as limiters go, especially if you're doing a certain genre, like, I'm a sucker for metal, and I really love like the compressed, like squash that thing down till there's like no life left in it. I like that, right? But it's got to sound good, obviously, right? Like, I like that compressed sound, and in a way, it's very, I guess it's very easy, or it's very just normal to use to get that sound with limiting and kind of squishing that together like the end scene of The Fifth Element, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, where are we? Here we are. It's easy to think growth means adding more. Growth. It's a weird word. I don't like that word growth. There's a growth. Gross. More plugins, more tools, more tricks. But for me, the real level up came when I stripped it all back and just focused on what the mix needs. Nothing more. Absolutely. It needs what it needs and nothing more. It's just, I think part of it too is that there's so many options, there's so many plugins. This one does that one better, and maybe it does, but is it that much better that'll make your song that much better, right? I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, does it sound good? Curious to hear from others. When did your less is more moment hit? I guess I'll go first. Okay. There really wasn't a specific moment. It was moments, right? One of those, a significant one, is if you have ever gotten a new computer, a new laptop, if you're working on a new system, anything like that. Now you have to think, okay, how many bajillion plugins do I have to now transfer over to run my normal sessions or my old sessions that I had on my old rig? That sucks, right? Because then you have to go to all these companies' websites, you have to know all your logins, you have to install all their versions of their hubs, right? And yeah, I'm not knocking the hub thing. That's a very convenient way to do and keep your stuff updated. But I'm saying that when you have so many plugins from so many companies, that's so many of those installers, and there's so many of those hubs that you have to constantly keep track of and install those. And then, not to mention, there's going to be those weird kind of one-off plugins that we collect that we kind of like, and we're like, oh, this is my thing, and you have to install that one. Is it going to be supported? There's so many things like that where it would just almost be easier to have like one EQ, maybe two, depending on what, if you want a stylistic thing, linear phase, whatever you fancy, right? A compressor, limiter, and if you can bundle those two together, like UHE's Presswerk, like that's what I did. So like I really like the sound of it. If I need like a nice limiter, then I'll use that. If I just need some simple compression, I'll use that as well. Sounds great. And maybe like one or two, three or four, 20 synths, that that could be fine too. I'm kind of biased in that sense. But yeah, maybe a good delay, some reverb and choruses, just kind of your basic your basic plugins that you need to get a song done, right? You don't really need a bajillion different plugins out there. So, yeah, less is more. But that's just kind of like on the producing side. On the mixing side, you know, get your tracks to a healthy gain. First, probably just balance stuff out on the faders. And then from there, you can kind of get a more clear image of where you want things to be EQ, compressed, and effects and all that kind of stuff. That's another thing. So let's read down here. So you got to do what the track needs. Sometimes that's 50 plugins. Sometimes, debatable. Sometimes it's just 10. Depends. Following blind rules made by humans is silly. Yeah, I mean that's also true. The reason I say that 50 plugins is kind of like debatable is I don't know if you're just kind of saying like, oh, like there was 100 firefighters at my house. Like there's probably like 3 or 4 or 10, maybe not really 100. Maybe that's just kind of like hyperbole. I don't know. But I will say, if you do mean literally 50 plugins, that's crazy. That's kind of insane. I don't know why you would do that, unless so unless you're making something interesting like the music for Doom, right? Where you start off with a sine wave, and it kind of goes through all these different pedals and this and that and these plugins and that plugins, and you kind of like at the end you're doing a creative thing to make one sound effect. So maybe that's the case. So that's why I was kind of like debatable. Like that would fit that category. But 9 times out of a billion, or 9 times out of 10, whatever's more to my point, 50 plugins is too much. Exactly less is more until it isn't. I received a guitar stem today that needed 8 narrow notches, 2 stacked amp sims, soothe, another EQ, saturation, another EQ. The bass needed nothing. I mean, I haven't listened to that guitar track, so I don't know, but it's very likely. That's a possibility. Let's see. I've done many client mixes where I left some of their tracks muted without saying anything, and they love the openness and clarity. That's so true. I mean, we've all done that. You bring up some type of instrument, and there's like 20 guitars, or there's and some of them aren't. They don't add anything to it. They're not going to help your mix at all. They're going to make it worse. So take it out. Listen to the song. The song comes first, right? Or whatever you're working on. Like that should speak for itself, something like that. Okay, so honestly, some of the absolute worst things that have happened to mixes were falling into the stupid YouTube and online forum advice threads. 5 essential tips to go blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's the problem with those types of videos. I mean, first of all, we all love list videos. I mean, let's be honest here. Like 10 things I didn't know about mixing. You're like, oh, hell yeah, you got my click. But I just kind of rage watch it. Anyway, aside from that, it's hard to take those advices. Is that even a plural word? I don't know. But it's hard to take some of that advice because you're going to apply different strategies to different mixes or different tracks. So I can't sit here and tell you for every guitar track that you get, you need to pull out this and add that. It's like, no, because what if that track already has that what you're trying to like bring up? So now you're just doubling what you're doing and kind of breaking the illusion of something sounding good. Something to think about. It's very case by case basis. It's very, it depends. I know that answer sucks, but it is what it is, man. For me, it's in composition. If everything is always going and going as hard as it can go, it's just a mess of noise. Guilty as charged for that. I would always think like, okay, this part sounds cool. Let's add another layer to it and let's play the exact same thing. Okay, add another thing. Oh, this sounds good. Let's add another layer to it. And then by the end of it, you're like, this just sounds like a hodgepodge of just noise playing the same note. This sucks. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. What's if you haven't done this, maybe give this a try, but drastically slow down your tempo and use like 4 or 5 instruments, and you're gonna realize like there's so much space that you have in your mix. If you're doing production or anything like that, there's so much space. So you really have to pick those instruments wisely and really pick those EQ and compression moves wisely because everything's kind of out in the open. If you have one section that's very slow and you might have like maybe one kick drum or a hi-hat kind of just keep in time, and you have like one bass or you have one guitar or one synth patch, that has to sound good because it's standing alone. It's like the one dude or one chick on the stage and that's it, and everyone's eye is right there on you, so you got to make sure you look good. Okay. Let's see what we got here. This hits home hard. That less is more moment feels like a rite of passage in mixing. Mine clicked around the time I realized I was spending more time fixing problems I created by overprocessing than enhancing the track. Yeah, that's true too. And like session opening times, like that's a thing. Loading plugins. God, man. If we had a clock, like every time you open up your DAW and it's like loading plugins or just doing the wheel, the beach ball, whatever you want to call it, just the loading process in general, if you press start, every time that happens and then press stop once your session opened, I wonder what that time would be. Probably a lot. Probably longer than sitting at a stoplight nowadays. What else do we have here? Let me expand a bit on what Op said. All production is reduction. Interesting. That's the law or rule that everyone needs to memorize. I mean, maybe. As you said, less is more, but it's more than that. Pun intended. That's a clever way of words, my friend. You first add, and then, like a sculptor, you remove all that is unnecessary until the core or essence of your vision remains. I mean, that's a good point as well too. If you're kind of looking at it as like a sculpting, you have all this stuff, and you're kind of just stripping away till what's good. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of comments here as well. But I will say though that I mean that isn't. I think that's a good spot for all of us to eventually get to this point because I mean, if you have 50 EQs, 50 compressors, like what's the point? Like why? Right? And then you transfer to a different system and now you have to install all those things all over again. And you're probably like, this is how I kind of view it. Let's say I'll use synths because we're more so a synthesizer channel. So let's say you have 15 synths, right? And it's kind of a lot to ask for you to be 100% proficient in every single one on every single day that you live, right? There's going to be times when maybe synth 5, you've spent more time with it and you're getting pretty good on it. But synth 14 is like, you kind of know it. You open up, you're like, okay, where's the oscillators again? Oh, there it is. Okay. And you have to kind of reacclimate yourself to it. So that's the whole thing you have to learn about. So it's kind of like an opportunity cost in a certain way. Like, yeah, you have all these plugins and all these things that make your song do whatever it does, or your patch do what it does. But at what point is enough? Because if you have a couple synths, maybe 1 or 2 EQs, compressors, if that's your small toolkit and you concentrate on those, you're going to beat out all the other ones that do like, oh, this one has a little soft saturation on the high end. Oh my God, this sounds amazing. Like just use your basic EQ. And if you're really good at it, who cares? The people listening don't care. I've never even like just being in music in general or synthesizer, sound design, whatever you want to call it. I've never sat there and be like, oh my God, the saturation above 5K is just exquisite. Like that doesn't happen. As much as we like to tell ourselves that, we're going to notice those things, but most people won't. There's a quote that I think is very important to remember, and grain of salt here. If your mom doesn't notice whatever it is you did in the mix, it doesn't really matter. Now that's, like I said, grain of salt, but it's something to kind of think about, right? If you're like, let me just add this little low end saturation, whatever it is, or this little thing here, and now that's cool, and it might be cool for you, or maybe for the band producing it, but most people won't hear it or won't care. And again, grain of salt. So just something to think about. Kind of use that as your own discretion. But yeah, so that wraps up the less is more. I pretty much mostly agree with this. I think we kind of all should get to that point. So yeah, clean out maybe this spring, right? Maybe let's just go through our computer and reinstall stuff that we or uninstall stuff that we don't really need or don't use, and kind of just get better with the tools that you already have. Because I recently got a new computer and I hated downloading this and then this and then this. So for the most part, I didn't. Right, I installed the main things that I liked: EQs, compression, synthesizers, reverb, delay, like the stuff that I actually use. That's all I have. It's very minimalistic, and with those tools, I don't feel like I'm limited in any certain sort of the way. So, something to think about. Thank you for watching. I want to hear your thoughts, and yeah, see you in the next one.